Moving on now to another developing story that's been reported by senior correspondent John Miller. John reported on CBS This Morning about allegations that officials in the State Department have interfered with criminal investigations, even quashed some of those investigations. The State Department has its own criminal investigation division that looks into crimes committed by State Department employees and even ambassadors. The Inspector General's office at the State Department looked into all of this, and it listed in a memorandum several instances in which investigations appeared to have been stopped. One of them involved a U.S. ambassador who was apparently slipping out of his embassy and ditching his security detail. At least that was the allegation. Another of these allegations involved Hillary Clinton's security detail and whether it was engaging prostitutes overseas. So, John, there has been some reaction to this reporting today. What have you been hearing?
Well, reaction from all over today, from the White House, from the State Department, from the ambassador who was mentioned in the memo. So from the State Department confirmed that some of the investigations referenced in that memo have been completed, that some are still underway in the Inspector General's office, and that the IG was reviewing all of the investigations and more. As for Ambassador Howard Gutman, the U.S. ambassador to Belgium, he said, "I am angered and saddened by the baseless allegations that have appeared in the press, and to watch the 4 years I proudly served in Belgium smeared is devastating. I live on a beautiful park in Brussels that you have to walk through to get to many locations, and at no point have I ever engaged in any improper activity." That a reference to the allegation contained in the memo that he was frequenting an area that was commonly used by prostitutes. Now, Under Secretary of State Patrick Kennedy, who was the one who allegedly said, "Stop the investigation, put it all in a memo, and I'll talk to the ambassador," he says, "I didn't interfere in that investigation, and serving 4 secretaries of state as a career foreign service officer, I've never interfered in any investigation." And finally, Ed Royce, the chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, has written a letter to Secretary of State John Kerry saying his committee's investigating, and he's listed some questions he wants the answers to no later than June 25th. So this is a story that still has legs.
Now, Ambassador Gutman was the one who was referenced by personnel at the embassy in Brussels as having ditched his security detail again and again and essentially disappeared for periods of time.
That
right. Was the allegation.
Right.
But that investigation was not allowed to go forward.
According to the agent who was interviewed by the Inspector General, and this is contained in the memorandum, the agent was told to stand down and to summarize his findings in a memo that was to be sent to Undersecretary Kennedy. Now, we spoke to other State Department officials who told us on background that the ambassador was interviewed by a criminal investigator outside of the meeting with the undersecretary, and that there was no finding of criminal behavior or improper behavior, and that he was counseled and sent back.
Now, these allegations were listed in a draft report of the Inspector General, a draft report written by the Inspector General's office. What happened to that draft report? How come we didn't know about this before?
Well, the draft report listed the allegations specifically involving the ambassador and a couple of the other cases, but in the final report, none of that was contained there. Instead, there was a kind of a wider aperture that talked about the need for the diplomatic security service, their investigative and security arm, to have more freedom in the chain of command and to be better insulated from influence. That was one of the recommendations of the Inspector General as a result of these findings from the memorandum.
And the White House said today that it wouldn't be able to comment because of all of this is still under investigation. John, thanks very much. Appreciate that very much. Thank you.